first time in years, the R1200GS's status as the best-selling big bike is under threat. By the end of March this year, Honda had sold 603 Africa Twins compared to 662 GS's. That's the closest any competitor has come to matching the BMW in ages. So, time to dust off the adventure twat suit and pit these two bikes against each other in a back-to-back test, on and off the road. It's not hard to see why people love the GS. It's a fantastic road bike, extremely comfortable, with an engaging 125 horsepower engine with 92 pounds-foot of torque, excellent handling and suspension, very powerful Brembo monoblock brakes, and a sophisticated electronics package, including traction control and riding modes. With its tall, adjustable screen, I can't think of a better bike for big motorway miles, and it's great fun on twisties too. The Honda is competent in all respects, but I don't think it's quite the accomplished road bike the BMW is. It's comfortable, but not to the same degree. It's perfectly happy at motorway touring speeds, but a little more vibey. Compared to the GS, it feels like it needs another gear. The screen is tall, about chin height for this 5'9" rider, but non-adjustable. The level of wind protection is good though. On bendy roads, the 21-inch front wheel feels slightly less willing to change direction than the BMW's 19-inch one. The front brake, the same Nissin 4-pot setup as found on the CRF 450 Rally, it's good, but it's not up there with the BMW's. The Honda's 998cc parallel twin makes 94 horsepower and 72 pounds-foot, and it will go fast when you hold onto the gears. We borrowed the automatic version with Honda's dual clutch transmission system, so if you hold the throttle open, it hangs onto the gears for you. It's a good engine with a good noise, but it lacks the meaty character of the 1170cc Boxer twin, and the DCT never seems to quite get it right on the road. Whether you're in D mode for drive or S mode for sport, you end up having to correct its gear choices with the button shifters on the left bar. It's also got switchable traction control and ABS, which can be deactivated at the back wheel. But of course, this is all only half the story. These are adventure bikes, right? Time for an adventure. Okay, so riding repeatedly up and down a mile-long stretch of muddy byway in Hampshire isn't exactly the long way down. Actually, it turned into a rapid way down for my colleague Simon Greenacre, but I'll come to that. The trail was just right, we thought, for these bikes and our level of off-road ability, which is pretty average, I dare say, like a lot of adventure bike owners. It would have been a doddle on a lightweight trail bike, but you'd never tackle it on a bike without some degree of off-road potential. There were some deepish puddles, the odd rut, and oddly, take that's Mark Owen, out walking his dog. I don't mind admitting I was nervous about the 263kg GS going off-road, not about meeting Mark Owen. It's so huge that leaving the tarmac seems preposterous, and I was slightly worried about the Michelin Anarchy 3 dual sport tyres, which look basically like road rubber with deeper tread in the middle. The Africa Twin was on dual sport tyres too, Dunlop Trail Max, but they at least looked more the part with deeper and wider tread. The GS Adventure can be supplied with off-road rubber at no extra charge, but that wouldn't be as good on the road. And the Michelin Anarchies are dual sport, aren't they? They're not pure road rubber, they're a compromise, supposedly offering some level of competence in either setting, letting you have fun on the road and tackle a gentle trail. That's the whole point of them and the bike, to go anywhere. That's the proposition we were here to test. But I'd have been happier without the light rain slowly making the trail all slimy. I needn't have worried really, the tyres actually felt quite sure-footed, going straight through or over everything with no drama. Some riders like to scoff at the notion of big adventure bikes having off-road ability, saying they're too big and heavy, but you really can ride one to a green lane and keep going. You're not going to try vertical hill climbs unless you're a Dakar veteran, but they do exactly what they're supposed to. You can keep going when the road ends. We were having fun, or I was. I'm sure Vicedown reporter Simon Greenacre was too, until he parked the Africa Twin in the bushy lower branches of a tree, upright with its wheels on the ground. I took the opportunity to switch bikes, and straight away I found myself going faster on the Africa Twin. Even with DCT, the Africa Twin is 21 kilograms lighter than the GS Adventure, and it feels it. Without DCT, it's another 10 kilograms lighter still. It's so much smaller and lighter, and narrower between your knees when you stand up, so it feels more like a bike that's supposed to be off-road. It's not so much a matter of faith in the Honda. The lighter weight makes you feel more in touch with the tyres, and on dirt the DCT becomes a big advantage for the inexpert off-road rider. From a host of unfamiliar challenges, one is removed: gear selection while standing up. In S mode, the DCT does make good gear choices, and if you have to override it, the button shifters are perfectly positioned to reach with your thumb and forefinger while standing up. I got to the end of the trail and looked back to see how far ahead I was of Simon on the GS. I waited, and then I went back. I don't know what happened, he said. The front had lost traction and gone sideways in a straight line, perhaps at about 15 miles per hour. Maybe we had expected too much of those tyres after all. More illuminating than the crash itself was the damage it had caused. A holed left-hand valve cover and a puddle of oil on the trail, signalling the end of the test. In an expensive way, it highlighted a real limitation of the GS off-road, I think. Spills do happen when you go off-road. A bike susceptible to being rendered out of action as soon as one does is probably slightly less than ideal. And what good did those crash bars do? Which of these machines is for you will depend on what you think an adventure bike should be. If you think it should be a brilliant long-distance road bike capable of tackling some dirt too, it will be the GS, which starts at $13,050. If you think it should be a bike you might actually be able to ride to a remote corner of the world on without a film crew and support truck, over mud, rock, sand and tarmac if necessary, then it's the 10499 Africa Twin.